Pasadena campus sounds. Streaming live 24/7 at lancerradionetwork.org.
This is Lancer Radio Network Pasadena, streaming live at lancerradionetwork.org. Hello and welcome to The Way We Live, a show where we explore major topics affecting our everyday lives. Today's show is quite environmentally driven, and we will be discussing controversial topics such as organic food versus non-organic, fair trade products, bumblebees and their decline, and the lack of interest or differences in protecting the environment. I'm your host, Maggie Poore, and my co-host is Casey Johnson. Our panelists are Devin Herenda and Sebastian Rivera. Let's hear from our panelists introducing themselves.
So like she said, I'm your co-host, Casey Johnson. I'm a TV and radio student here, as well as an employee in the stage services department. I'm just really excited to talk about all these super important topics, because I feel like a lot of these topics just really, really don't get a lot of talk. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and I'm Devin Herenda. I'm a journalism major here at PCC, and also super happy to be talking about the topics. Excited to be here.
I'm Sebastian Rivera. I'm a music student here at PCC, and can't wait to get into it.
Welcome to the show, guys. Welcome. All right, The Way We Live. Okay. Organic foods are becoming more popular, yeah? But what are the differences between organic versus non-organic? This is our first topic. Well, it has to do with how food is processed, such as synthetic, which is human-made pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, genetically modified organisms, antibiotics or growth hormones, and of course irradiation or ionizing radiation, which is a way to preserve food with radiation energy. Essentially, we're talking about shelf life here. So it is not known scientifically that organic foods have less pesticide residue than non-organic foods, because even natural or plant-based pesticides may be used in organic foods. Also, there is not enough evidence to say that organic foods are more or less nutritious than non-organic foods, because foods like vegetables, fruit, whole grains, lean meat, low-fat dairy products, legumes, and eggs all are nutritious whether they are organically grown or not. Okay, and some people might say that organic food may taste better because it may be fresher if locally produced. However, we all agree that organic food may cost a lot more, especially
Absolutely.
when we talk about organic meat mostly. So, eating organic food is a personal choice. Here is my question to my dear panelists in here. Now, how do you define organic food, and share with us your personal experiences with organic food?
Well, I'm pretty sure you hit the nail right on the head there. I think the vast majority of people that I know, at least, they just look at the label and see organic and say, that has to be healthier, right? And I think I'm in that boat too. Organic food to me just means a higher price tag, maybe a little bit tastier. Because sometimes getting like a nice organic like grass-fed beef or something, you can't really beat it, right? Because that's right. It's the best. So regardless of pesticides or anything, sometimes it can just be tastier. So that's been my experience with it, and yeah.
So you're willing to pay the extra price to get that better taste?
Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. I'm actually a pretty frugal guy.
Okay.
So when I go to the grocery store, I'm really looking for the most bang for my buck, I guess.
Okay.
So unless I'm cooking for someone or having some people over or something, I think typically I'll go for the cheaper option every time, just for me, because I have low standards for myself. But
Okay.
It's all, yeah.
Same. I do think that there is a fresher taste at times with produce you can notice. I don't seek out organic necessarily, but I think another important thing you said is that it's debated. There's not really necessarily strong evidence to support either way, whether or not health-wise long-term, how it will benefit you, or if organic will benefit you a lot more long-term. So I feel like you have to go based on how you feel when you eat it, because the evidence, it's kind of wishy-washy. So it depends on how you feel. Like I said, I haven't sought it out too much, so I haven't noticed too much of a difference, but I would say when it comes to mine, I think of just something more pure, a fresher taste, and something that possibly can be better for you health-wise.
Okay, so very much emotionally based again.
Or,
how you feel inside.
How you're feeling, how you feel health-wise.
Okay, how about you, Sebastian?
See, anytime I've bought organic, I always found myself to maybe thinking that it tastes better just because I paid more for it. But I don't think it is.
Okay.
After washing enough vegetables and cleaning enough meats, I've realized it kind of tastes the same.
Okay.
And even Stanford University, they did about 230 studies on it, and they found that there were no actual benefits or alterations to the products when they were used with pesticides or growth hormones.
Right. Well, pesticides are used on anything, whether it be organic or non-organic, and essentially it's viewed as protecting food crops, essentially. So whether it would be natural pesticides or non-natural pesticides or plant-based pesticides, there are pesticides anyways. Now the difference essentially comes down very much into the taste, as we are talking about. I'm just curious to know, are you a carnivore, Sebastian, or you're a vegan, or you're a herbivore? What are you?
Oh no, I eat everything, but
Okay.
I don't know. When it comes to organic, I don't really see a difference. Maybe I just find myself believing there's a difference.
Okay, I see. And how about you?
I'm pretty much mostly vegan. Everything I eat.
Define as vegan.
Vegan, so no meat or animal products. No meat or dairy, or any animal byproducts.
So you're just based on plants and fruits.
Right, just a plant.
Okay. How do you get your proteins then?
It depends. Definitely lentils or beans.
Yeah, beans.
For sure.
Yeah.
And even now they have like protein powders, protein shakes that are becoming more popular, because that's one of the main deficiencies if you are vegan.
So choosing your fruits and your plants, that is the major fundamental part of your diet. Do you go for organic labels?
Most of the time, it depends, but most of the time I actually haven't. Like I said, I haven't really sought it out too much. For me, I think, again, like Sebastian said, it could be down to the label. I think sometimes it's in your head, and you think, oh, well, if it's organic, it might taste a little fresher. So I've noticed maybe a little bit more freshness with organic, but mostly I haven't sought it out.
And how does it affect your pocket?
Yeah, that's another thing, like Casey. It's like I'm not, normally that's another reason why it is more expensive. So it is safer in that way to go for inorganic.
How about you, Casey?
Well, I think just one of the things I noticed that you said was there's like radiation or something. I think that was one of the craziest things for me. But
Absolutely.
I think we're just about ready to wrap this topic up and move on to fair trade.
Absolutely. Fair trade. Now, fair trade is an institutional arrangement designed to help producers in developing countries achieve better trading conditions. Now, members of the fair trade movement advocate the payment for higher prices to exporters, as well as improved social and environmental standards in developing nations. Now, essentially, this entire global movement is putting people and our planet first, so to speak. A choice for fair trade certified goods is a choice essentially as viewed by the general public to support responsible companies and empower workers and farmers all around the world. That's how we see it. Now, according to Fair Trade America, which is the organization overseeing all fair trade transactions in America, fair trade sales in the U.S. grew by 33% within the past decade. That is a huge increase, with double the number of products. However, fair trade can also be confusing, misunderstood, and even mistaken for a marketing ploy. Now, coffee, chocolate, happy farmers, fresh produce, better conditions. Okay, these are all advertised probably as responsibly sourced products. good choices that we will make in the same way we try to make good choices to eat with organic or non-organic. Now, the question is, how are we sure that these products are fair trade so we won't fall into this entire global marketing plot? That is quite of a tricky question. What do you think, Sebastian?
Yeah, I was pretty skeptical when I heard about fair trade, but I did a little bit of research, and apparently it takes about 6 to 9 months to actually get the fair trade certification to be able to put the fair trade logo on your products. And it takes that long because there's so many third-party audits and talking to factory workers and managers just to make sure that their working conditions are okay. It takes a while.
So this whole the process to be certified fair trade, you're telling us, is quite time consuming. But so your point is that once you have been certified, then it's good to go. It's fair trade.
No,
you would trust it.
No, actually, what they do after you are certified for the fair trade, they annually come to the factories and continue their audits every year, just to make sure that working conditions stay the same and all the workers continuously stay happy.
So essentially, there is these companies are obliged to abide to the standards.
Yeah, they're forced into third-party audits where the Fair Trade Association.
So standards are kept up.
Yeah,
standards are kept up, and that's how you would keep your certification essentially. Okay. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's comforting to know because it's sort of like organic foods in the sense that the label does mean a lot to people. I think that, if you purchase something organic or if you purchase something fair trade, people feel comfort in that and they feel sort of philanthropic when they buy it. So I think that is a smart move and comforting to know that audits, continue and it is an extensive process. It's not just a label.
Okay, so you two have that trust that because there is such a gruesome process to get into this whole certification process that
I have that trust. I feel like for more certainty there could be more reports or personal accounts from workers, but I do think that's a step in the right direction to know that it's a continuation and not just a one-time authorization.
Okay, and you would purchase fair trade products? Yeah?
Yeah, I think I would. Again, it hasn't been something I've necessarily sought out, but knowing their process a little bit more, I think I would, yeah.
You would, yeah? Okay, how about you, Casey?
So I think it's a, excuse me, I think it's a bigger issue than just fair trade. I think ever since the 50s when the first documentaries were coming out about, these sorts of issues, source of goods became a far larger issue than it ever had been before because of globalization, because our world is becoming smaller and we can just get anything from pretty much anywhere if the price is right. So source really, really matters, and that's where fair trade comes into play, where hopefully if you see that logo, it's actually doing something for a community, doing something for the people who are just trying to survive in their own country, not even trying to be billionaires or whatever like we all are in the U.S. They're just like in Guatemala where half the coffee's grown for America. I just made that statistic up off the top of my head, but I know they make a lot of coffee. They are treated not very well. I'm pretty sure most of the fields over there are owned by Starbucks.
Yes.
And that, it's causing them some issues over there.
Yes.
So source matters. And it's a really interesting issue.
Well, you mentioned Starbucks and you mentioned Guatemala and you mentioned half of the world's coffee is coming from Guatemala and you mentioned issues going on. Yes, but again, so much of Starbucks is sold under fair trade.
Yep.
But yet there are still tremendous issues going on there. So that is the whole point, the whole marketing ploy that is being used.
And that's the other thing is sometimes the whole fair trade thing, it just comes down to the label where companies can actually get the better end of the whole bargain anyway. So say, because the company can pretty much push the nation
Okay.
or the country.
So you're a little bit skeptical, Casey.
A little bit.
A little bit skeptical. You're not exactly sure about it.
It sounds like it's for us and not so much for them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And just like Devin said, there needs to be a little more report about what is going on and what is happening.
Right.
Is that right?
I think the good thing is that at least there's more awareness and concern now, but yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, that is fantastic views. In case you're joining us, we are Lancer Radio Network Pasadena, streaming live at lancerradionetwork.org, and you are listening to The Way We Live, a show where we explore major topics affecting our everyday lives. We talked about organic food versus non-organic food and, of course, free trade. And we are now moving on to our third very interesting topics. Guess what? Buzz buzz. Bumblebees. Bumblebees are any of over 250 species of the bee family. Okay? Oh yeah. They are fussy insects with stubby wings. Their wings actually beat 130 times faster than any other bees. And that causes the pollens to spread out even further. That is why bumblebees are very, very important into our ecosystem. Essentially, they are larger than honeybees. They don't produce as much honey. Bumblebees don't produce as much honey. However, they are very important. As I said, they are important pollinators. And without them, food would not grow.
Nope.
No, we do need bumblebees in order to eat, we humans. Now, these bumblebees are the most important pollinators in our ecosystem. Many bumblebees are now listed as endangered, vulnerable, or near threatened by the Union for Conservation of Nature. Back in 2017, it became the first wild bee in the U.S. to get federal protection. So they are essentially in the endangered species list. However, their number is still declining even more, and we are in 2019. Now, the overall the population is in decline. There is a federal protection going on, but nothing is happening. My question to my wonderful panelists is, what can we do as individual citizens within our communities to contribute to the well-being of the bumblebees and our ecosystem? What can we do?
Try not to get stung. No. I don't even think bumblebees are the ones that sting. I actually think that's honeybees.
These are honeybees, yes.
Well, I'm not a bee expert myself, although I do know that the scientific word for them, I believe, is Vespian. I believe, if someone wants to fact check me on that. I'm not a huge bee expert, but I got stung a lot by honeybees as a kid, and the big bumblebee scared the crap out of me.
Yes.
I
understand.
But yeah, I mean, they have that really big furry coat for keeping all that pollen on them, and that was really interesting what you said about the wings beating, because I never thought about how that would actually even
their wings
assist their pollen gathering and spreading and cross-pollinating different things.
The wings beat 130 times more than any other insect's wings.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about really fast. Your eyes cannot even catch.
Yeah, they're almost like
wings.
a hummingbird kind of, sort of, like a little mini hummingbird.
And that is essentially some sort of a mechanism to spread out pollens all over a large area, and so up all the way up in the air, and they travel really fast and really far.
Yeah.
That's why they're so very much important in our ecosystem.
So if I had to take a wild guess at what possibly could be harming the bees, I would guess that it would be the pesticides. It's kind of like a putting two and two together kind of thing. It's like if we're putting like poison and radiation all over the stuff that they're trying to pollinate. Two and two together. So
I see. How about you, Devin?
Right, yeah, and it's interesting to think about that, the cause, because there are different, I think, theories, but for sure pesticides. With studies, I know they've found that bees that are declining, bumblebees, they are more likely to have infections, so they think it could be parasites, But I think that, again, it has been pointed to global warming, so it goes back sort of to environmental issues.
Okay, Sebastian?
Yeah, I definitely have to agree because it's definitely got to be pollution and other environmental stages because the ozone layer and everything is deteriorating, so they're getting hotter and they need to cool themselves down more. They can't, and polluted waters and dirty everywhere. I don't know. The earth is just way too dirty for bees to be surviving.
Okay, so it has become fashionable lately. On every rooftop now there is a bee setting going on to protect the bees. Now some corporations are doing that. Again, this is communal protection going on.
Yeah.
But as individuals, I mean, would you be willing to put like what is it, an entire family of bees or something in your backyard or on top of your trees?
I really think we should get some celebrities in the bee cause. I think we should get Wiz Khalifa, black and yellow.
Okay. To do what?
I don't know. Raise some money, raise some awareness,
Raise some awareness.
Yeah, so, stuff celebrities are good at.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think, Devin, Sebastian? Any way we could bring more awareness to the bumblebee decline and our ecosystem being endangered?
I think that spreading the word too, that pollination is so important, and if that will affect plants and crops, and that in turn affects all produce and veggies we consume.
Okay, all right, yes, absolutely. We need more awareness, and we definitely need to spread it out. Like the bees, how's that?
Oh yeah, spread that pollen.
More flowers as well, because bees they need a lot of mint and bee bee cores and a bunch of different flowers to make bee gardens.
Absolutely.
Bee gardens.
All right, bumblebees, which brings us to our final topic, which is the most important topic of today,
money?
Which is, yes, that's another very interesting topic, money, but I believe this is even more important than money, because you don't have this, you probably wouldn't have money, and that is lack of interest in protecting the environment, or may I say, maybe some people don't believe there is a lack of interest in protecting the environment. Some people believe that there is a difference in opinion in how to protect the environment. I'm not sure exactly which way to go on this particular topic, but my question to you is that, what is your view? Do you think there is a lack of interest in America these days to protect the environment? There's a decline in that, or there's a difference in an opinion? Because there's a big shift. There's a big shift in terms of maintaining policy, in terms of following the rest of the world when it comes to protecting the entire planet as a whole. Okay, and so my question to you is that, where are we in that spectrum?
Yeah.
Where do we need to go? What do we need to do? How responsible should we be? What do you think?
So the environment, I don't know how you could say, I mean, I know you say there's different viewpoints, but at this point, how could you possibly not see some effects of some of the stuff that's going on? I mean, despite scientific evidence, I mean, you can walk outside and the weather is not normal, like a lot, like even in Southern California, like it's really weird. Like in the mountains, I don't know if you guys ski or snowboard, but it's been a record snow season for this year, even though, it's just climate change, we've had record rainfall. It's
the Midwest.
Been,
yes.
Yeah. And I just, at this point, if you're a denier, like what legs are you standing on at this point? Like,
okay.
I mean those poor bumblebees, that's like, case number one.
I see.
Yeah.
Devin, what's your point?
I think that's a good point, because it's not necessarily simply just warm weather. It can be changes in weather, and different, recent natural disasters and what it can mean for the future.
Right.
It definitely can be more floods, and on the opposite end can be droughts.
Yes.
So I think that it's kind of an in-between phase. I think a lot of people have more interest in it, but still a lot can be done in the future to talk about it and spread the word.
Well, we have seen lately within the past actually 3 weeks, we have seen floods in Brazil. We have seen floods in Iran. We have seen floods in Sri Lanka, affecting so many agricultural terrains, essentially food for people. We've seen many deaths going on. We've seen many destruction going on. And these are happening in places that such floodings had never existed before.
Right.
So essentially there's a tremendous shift when it comes to weather changes.
Yeah.
Sebastian.
Yeah, I have to agree with what Casey said, but to a different point. He said that he doesn't understand how people can't see the changes of the climate changing. I think they can, but they're just blinded by greed, because there's a lot of money coming out of the whole fossil fuel industry, and people working for it don't want to lose their jobs because they're too stubborn to learn how to use renewable energy. So it's ignorance, but it's also a lack of wanting to move from that ignorance as well.
Well, I mean, we've subsisted on this sort of system for so long, like just kind of putting humans first and, our planet second. And I think, like you said, we are making a lot of good steps towards helping that, but the progress is like glacially slow, like slower, like even slower than the ice caps are melting. Like the ice caps are melting faster than we're moving towards like actually doing something significant towards helping the environment, helping the oceans, cruise ships. Can we talk about cruise ships? Like destroying the environment and destroying even like civilization sometimes. Like the cruise ships that go into Venice in Italy, they're like slowly sinking the city. Like because of their crazy wakes and stuff. Like I don't know. It's just there's just a lot of silly things that we humans are doing out there that are just so excessive and so unnecessary that we could just easily just cut cold turkey and just nobody would even.
So for you, Casey, the difference is denying that there's a problem, and for you, Sebastian, is related to greed. Essentially, it's very much related to greed. How do we get over that? I mean, how do we need to decrease that greedy need in order to transform this denial?
Personal choices. Yeah,
it's hard
for sure.
Because, like Casey said, it's such a big part of our economy. If we just took that out,
it's a big part of our attitude too. Just the biggest, the best, do the coolest thing. Don't do the,
And I feel like people don't realize the urgency of it either. I feel like if it's not affecting them today, they'd be like, well, I don't really need to worry about it. But it is really closer than people realize. I think by 2030, they said 2/3 of our coral reefs will be gone.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Yeah.
Excellent talks, guys. You are responsible citizens.
Thank you.
Sometimes.
And I hope that there will be more responsible citizens coming
Inside the
up.
booth, at least.
At least inside here, yes. This was Lancer Radio Network Pasadena, streaming live at lancerradionetwork.org, and you were listening to The Way We Live, a show where we explore major topics. Thank you for listening. See you next time.
Let's I don't know. What'd you guys do for lunch yesterday?
It's done. Finished.